This is it, guys. This is the end. I'm done. Finished. Complete. Finito. I'm out. Welcome to the Extreme Channel. My name is Mr. X. No, this is not the last video I'm ever going to do. Sorry to disappoint. I am just getting things started. But this is, as far as I know, the last Hot Toys video I will ever do. That's right, we have our final Hot Toys pieces that we are getting rid of, so I thought we might as well review them before we get rid of them. And this one, I'm going to sell off, but it's actually already sold. It's already en route right now to my boy, Mac. Mac's Collections is one of the coolest channels out there. Check it out. Here's a link right here. He does awesome reviews, has awesome pieces, and is probably one of the coolest guys I've ever met. So him and I came to a deal on this, and it is on the way right now, my man. So really appreciate all your support on everything, and yeah. But we're going to review it before it leaves the Extreme Collection. We're going to do a twofer.
What would you do if you had $1 million?
I'll tell you what I'd do, man. 2 chicks at the same time, man.
2 at a time. We have 1/6 scale, meaning he is 6 times smaller than he'd be in real life. Ed 209 from RoboCop, and RoboCop from... Good, RoboCop. Get a cookie. So I'm not used to reviewing Hot Toys. I recently did a whole bunch, and at the end I'll show links to those of some really big Hot Toys stuff. And I don't want to say the word toy too often because YouTube might flag the channel saying this is aimed at kids. But these cost quite a bit of money, toy. So don't say toy. I said toy. We're going to review these using the Extreme Scale, and we're not going to do it on a typical statue fashion where we review concept, design, paint, sculpt. It's just kind of an overall score with Hot Toys because in my mind, they're a little bit more simplistic. Now, before all you Hot Toys dick riders get your panties in a bunch, I don't mean that it is more basic when I say simplistic. Sometimes, actually, Hot Toys can be a lot more advanced when you think about posability, switch outs, and even some of the detail up close to quarter scale or third scale polystone statues, which is kind of what the Extreme Collection is more geared towards, hence why I'm getting rid of these. Speaking of which, if you've never seen a review here before or you just haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that now. I post daily content. It lets you know what's going on. So hit that subscribe button and you can see all this cool stuff. Kind of another cool fact, while I threw up that graphic of the Extreme Scale, I was actually researching the price on these. I do a lot of weird crap when I throw up graphics and you can't see what I'm doing. It's what it keeps this channel adult content oriented, in case I do say toy. Damn it, toy. So with that being said, one thing I did find when I was looking for the price on this guy, there was somebody named Hot Chick Toys who did a review on this. How the hell am I going to compete with that unless I stand up? So... so let's dive right into this guy, and I think first thing we're going to do is focus on RoboCop, and then we'll look at the detail on Ed 209. Now, one neat thing is I think these guys pose great together. I loved RoboCop, quintessential movie for me growing up in that time period, and recently I actually had the Chronicle Collectibles Kane from RoboCop 2 right here. You can check out the review, and this was a sell-off review as well. But if you're unfamiliar with what RoboCop is, it was kind of one of our first cyborg movies. I think it actually came out after Terminator 1. But where they took a police officer whose body had been completely mangled. He still had a few humanoid parts, the flesh, the skin, and they put him into a robot and he became a badass robot cop. And then they built enemies to take him down and all this crazy stuff. But it's worth checking out. It doesn't have the CGI of today, but it's a pretty cool flick. And I'm actually not going to show any scenes from it like I traditionally do. But so let's dive into this RoboCop piece. And one thing I want to let you know, I'm not going to open up the box and get all the switch outs out, but I will show some stock photos for you guys because this is more about this piece. That's what this review is about. So let's look at RoboCop. One cool thing that Hot Toys usually does is they're very accurate on movie or comic book characters or whichever route they go down. And I think there's no exception here. So here's some pictures of the feet of RoboCop. And I always hated his feet in the movie, but they followed exactly what the movie was. And one really cool thing, on the back you actually see kind of these pistons, and they're connected by magnets and springs, so they're actual moving. So you can adjust his feet in different directions, or even if you wanted to play with him, make it look like he's walking. Very, very cool. I think one thing they could have done differently is some of the circuitry on him. It is sculpted in there, but it doesn't look very real. It looks a little toyish, and granted, I know this is a toy. And in between that, you do see the rubber parts in between all of his joints. I think that's cool. It actually is real rubber. It does worry me, though, that eventually it may fade or deteriorate. But I have had this for a few years, and I've never had any issues. And as you move up, one cool thing is his gun slide his holster that's built into his leg for his massive gun does open and close. You can see it opened right here. And it's pretty badass. I loved RoboCop's gun. I actually have a pellet gun of RoboCop's gun. I don't know where it's at, otherwise I'd try and get it for the review. I think it's at my office. But very, very cool. I do like his torso. A lot of cool things going on here. One neat thing is he does have a switch-out battle damage torso we're going to see in a second with some stock photos. His arms look great, very movie accurate. I always liked how his shoulders were kind of above his... his arms were always above his shoulders, sorry. And so many points of dexterity on here. You can pose it in almost any way you want. And I've never been good at posing Hot Toys figures. Some more shots of the back here for you guys. Now the way I have him displayed is I have that huge needle that he actually used to kill the main bad guy at the end of 1. This is kind of a interface needle, so he plugs it into a computer, but he used it to kill Clarence Bodinger, whatever his name was. Hard to get some quick photos. Of course, you can switch out and make him hold his gun, which we'll talk about in a second. Let's look at his portrait, and I have kind of the serious portrait. You actually have different face plates that you'll see in a second you can switch out. But they did a great job. I like, it says OCP Police. I don't know if you can see that, number 1, because he was the first one made. Kind of the only, I guess RoboCop 2 was RoboCop 2. We didn't talk about the paint on this. What's cool about the paint is there's some blue, especially under the right lighting, there's some blue in this gray area that kind of reflects off. I like the fact they offered a battle damage version because you kind of see him throughout the movies, sometimes clean, sometimes battle damaged. And as cool as he is, I think Ed 209 is much cooler. But let's look at the switch outs before we jump to Ed 209. So here's kind of a stock photo. You can switch up the hands he has, which will determine what he is. You can switch up the hands he has. So some can hold his gun, some can do this. There's the battle damage torso that you can switch out that I was talking about. And of course you can see in the pictures the different face sculpts you can use. Now to Ed 209, and this is really badass. It is detailed as hell. It is super cool. This is why I shouldn't review my sell-off stuff, because I want to keep it. But let's just start at the bottom. So at the bottom, he has kind of these flipper feet that I always remember from the movie. He had trouble going down some stairs. And on him, it's not a shiny metal. It's more of a dull metal with some black shadowing in there. Some layering. And as we look around the bottoms of his feet here, you see a ton of different wires. And, I'm not from the future, but this doesn't seem like a good design for a cyborg robot. I guess this wasn't a cyborg, it was strictly just a robot. Someone could cut those really easily, damage those really easy, but it's cool how much detail there is. Moving up his legs, you see a few different things, like kind of this fusion chamber where it says dangerous substances, caution for the use of blah 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 on it. Almost looks like they would insert some chemicals in there, and you can see those chemicals running down from the screws in his leg. I've never really noticed that before, but that is pretty neat. Just showing you some other shots here, guys, because it is really, really cool. And as you get towards the segmented part of his legs, you see screws and joints and pistons. And it's awesome how these go together, and it helps it helps you display it kind of however you want. There's a ton of dexterity on this to move them up, down, left, right. And as advanced and complex as his legs are, that's just the beginning of it. Let's look at his arms or his guns. I'm only really going to look at one side because they're both almost identical. Not quite, but almost identical. You can see the guns here, some control switches. And then as you get to where his elbows essentially would be, this metallic aspect to it, not aspect, but it's metal with wires and coils that are loose, kind of like a wheel, some rubber in there. Crazy, crazy advanced. This is a very, very cool looking piece. Let's look at his big ass head. There's so many parts of it. First, the front part almost insinuates a mouth. And then this part on top, it's this felt type rubber material to it. Again, you worry a little bit about deterioration. Check out the top of the head here. On the sides and the back, you see some vents. You see some almost like radioactive cylinders. So awesome, awesome pieces. Mac, I hope you love them. Yeah, very, very cool. I'm sad to let them go. They just don't go with my collection. I'm 1/4 or larger. I have a few 1/5, but yeah, I don't want to let them go. Too bad. Again, go make sure you check out Mac Collections channel. Make sure you leave. Today, I don't know what I want you to say, so make me laugh. Just make me laugh in the comments. Talk to you tomorrow. No, we gotta rate this crap. Woo, that was close. Whew. Close call. So first, let's rate RoboCop. I think the piece itself is a V. It's a 3 out of 5. It's very nice. Like I said, the detail isn't as detailed as I would hope it would be, and it seems like there's some dead space where the rubber is, and I don't know what they would have been, but they should have offered more switch outs. That's why I think the RoboCop gets a V. The Ed 209 is much more amazing. You know, I didn't tell you the original prices either. Original price on this was like $480, something like that. I can't even remember from the Hot Chicks review, and this was $299. But I think this is a rail, a 4 out of 5. This is such a cool piece. If this came in 1/4 scale, I would actually buy it, I think. If it was this exact same thing in 1/4 scale, and to me, that would actually, I mean, it'd be huge, but that would be a X if it was just like this in 1/4 scale. So, really appreciate you guys watching. Now leave me the funny comment, and I will catch you tomorrow. Sorry for the weird review, but sometimes that's how Mr. X is. Take care.